Hi, this is Jade of the Canadian atmospheric post-black metal band ULVIK, and you are listening to The Bloodshed with the Vampire on Metal Messiah Radio International. And I'd like to congratulate Metal Messiah Radio with its 13th anniversary.
George and Jade, it's a great pleasure to have you guys here, and I want to welcome you to the Metal Bloodshed with the Vampire on Metal Messiah Radio International.
Thank you for having us.
Oh, thank you for the invite.
First of all, guys, let me start by asking you, how did you get to know each other and what got you all started in the metal scene?
Go ahead, Jade.
George and I met through Lossch, so we were members of that band. I was actually in Montreal before, and I moved to Vancouver, so I was looking for bandmates to play music with, guitar players. So we ended up finding each other. Started Lossch, we were writing music, and then from there, I was also kind of writing a little bit more side music, which was ULVIK side. And with the pandemic hitting, and then Lossch being a little bit on hold, George and I decided to collaborate and start producing work together on ULVIK. So this is kind of how I guess the present ULVIK exists right now.
Awesome. How is the metal scene reviving in the British Columbia and in Canada in general after, the 2 devastated years?
Vancouver actually has a wealth of talent in a lot of different genres of music, including metal. I think there's a lot of really strong musicians that find their way here. There's a lot of inspiration here. I know a lot of musicians are still pretty struggling with the fact that we can't really have shows yet here in town. There's a few outdoor events happening. There are some shows being booked for later in the fall, and I guess we'll see how, COVID numbers are looking. But nevertheless, I don't think that that's really stopped anyone from producing some top quality music in a lot of genres. So we feel pretty lucky to be among so many great bands.
Huge shout out to the local bands here as well. There's so many. They're all very active at writing music at this point. And it looks like it's kind of going back into the concert and into the shows. I think in fall it's coming up. So, but yeah, I think the pandemic kind of made people be at home and start, continue writing. I feel like the writing hasn't really stopped. At least the local scene here. We could see a little bit, our peers writing a lot of stuff. So it's been pretty exciting.
Yeah.
But tell me, guys, how are the restrictions now at this right moment in Canada in general? Because I see that the bands in the States are already touring.
Yeah. I guess it's just part of our governments. They're just not allowing anyone to really be indoor areas yet. They've got phases of when they'll kind of open those kind of things back up. The plan was that, September would be when we would start to have indoor events if cases were down. Right now in Canada, cases are kind of on the way back up. So we're going to just have to wait and see what happens. And then in the meantime, like I said, some bands are having outdoor concerts, which is awesome. That's not nearly as cool as a sweaty dive bar, but I guess we can cross our fingers and hope that shit gets figured out pretty quick, because we miss live shows a lot.
It's giving us the time to maybe refine our sound a little bit. Also, now we're looking kind of to make ULVIK into a live project. So the fact that we're still kind of in this undecided, clear direction for concerts, George and I are exploring this and trying to find bandmates that could potentially join and start basically laying out the whole process to make it a live band. So we still have a bit of time in front of us to do it. So
do you guys see that before the end of the year there will be shows? The venues will be reopened?
I think so.
George, you're playing with some local bands in November, right?
Yeah. I'm playing bass for another really talented band here in Vancouver called Empress. They've got a show in November, so I'm going to be playing bass for those guys. That's at a great venue in town here called the Rickshaw Theatre. So maybe it'll open up sooner than we think. Maybe it'll be back in full swing by end of the year.
Not to go far, I was supposed to interview a Canadian band, and they are doing tour now. That's why I couldn't get hold of them. I'm talking about Mauricio of the band Cataclysm and XDO.
XDO, yeah. There's a local band. I think it's Unleash the Archers, isn't she? Did she do a cameo with one of their songs? I can't remember.
Britney Slays, yeah. She features on the song of XDO, the new single, Boudica.
Unleash the Archers.
Yeah, the lady from Unleash the Archers, yeah.
They're touring? I'm not sure. I don't know. We're kind of hermits, honestly.
That's what I mean to say. XD is touring, but they are touring in the States, but I don't know at the same time if they're touring in the Canadian territory.
I'm not sure. It seems at least for Vancouver, I know that we don't really have concerts happening right now indoors, and we're not really going out for that.
Okay, guys, besides ULVIK, you guys has also formed this other blackened post-metal Lucia in 2018 with Chris Vets on drums. I must say that I love the songs on this album. To say some, there is no book. Your fathers are dead in the ground. Follow me into the plains and pillars. To say some. What are the different, or similarities between the two bands, and what can you tell us about the 2019 release, Monuments of Adrift?
Yeah, I mean, Lucia and with Chris Vest, like obviously Chris is just unreal talented drummer, so we were lucky enough to play with him on Lucia. You know, with the whole pandemic scene, I guess we had a bit of a like slowdown because we couldn't like play in a room all of us together.
It was also Chris had to go back home to Australia. He's Australian, and he went back to Australia before the pandemic happened, and then he was in Australia when COVID-19 flared up, and so he was stuck in Australia for like over a year. So
Lucia was pretty much like our main focus, and ULVIK was a bit more like of a side thing at that point. And yeah, we've always been super stoked about Lucia, and we would love to pick up Lucia again. I think that the differences between both are just a little bit more like the explore, like more like the experimental side of ULVIK has like a bit of space to like try out new different instruments, and we weren't like necessarily limited to like, you know, a live setting where it was just me, George, and Chris. So we could start layering different instruments, and we also decided to go more in depth into the black metal sound of things and exploring that. So like basically that was kind of like the main big difference in between both. And at this stage, like with, you know, the latest album of ULVIK we've been working on for quite a long time now, I guess we're kind of thinking to see how we can make this into a live project as well. That's a little bit where we are now. I don't know, George, for you, like what are the similarities and differences for you?
yeah, I mean, I think like Lucia always sounded really like warm and organic and very kind of like slower and everything. And I think that was like a stylistic move that Chris's drumming really brought to the table. It's very kind of like, it's really rhythm based and very kind of tribal sounding, which I love. And then ULVIK was a little kind of colder and explored more black metal elements. And with Chris being stuck in Australia, you know, it was kind of a good time for Jade and I to explore this other sound, and that was kind of what Cascades culminated into. But, you know, we'd love to work with Chris again soon in the future. So, again, we're kind of just waiting on COVID to simmer down in Canada, you know?
Guys, to continue with this interview, I want to take the time to congratulate you guys for the band's new album. I'm talking about Cascade, but also for the band's 10-year anniversary since its formation. I know there's still the restriction if we just talk because it's pandemic. Have you guys in mind anything to do with this double celebration?
That's a good call, actually. I've never even thought about that side of it. Yeah, honestly, we've never like even talked about that on our side, like the whole anniversary side of things. It's pretty cool. I don't know. ULVIK was more of again, it was kind of like a space where I would like practice learning how to write music a little bit. So, you know, exploring sounds that I wasn't necessarily clear about, like how to like necessarily like write certain types of, you know, movements in songs. And I was kind of practicing there, and then whatever didn't really make it into Lucia, I'd be like, whatever, but I'll go into ULVIK, and I would learn there. And it kind of grew and grew, and we went more into black metal. So we never, George, I don't know, we never talked about like the longevity of this project as it is.
Yeah, I mean, like Jay said, it was really kind of his baby for a long time, and you know, some of the earlier ULVIK stuff is a lot more post-rocky, and it's kind of Jade's baby. And then I think it was kind of in the last like 2 years, I guess, where we were like, all right, well, I'm gonna contribute as much, and we'll make this more of a duo thing. And we did. We started working on songs, and they were really kind of just like loose ideas until COVID happened, and then we wrote a little mini album called Isolation Motifs that's like a lot more folk elements and like dark folk, neo folk, whatever you want to call it. And that was kind of like our first, like our practice run on how to write songs together, and also like from afar because we weren't always in the same room together. It was fun to play with like acoustic instruments, and that's we really started to like, you know, explore bouzoukis and violins and different kind of just like, you know, sounds that ended up on Cascades. They really kind of were birthed when we were working on Isolation Motifs. And then it just worked really well. We worked really well together writing those songs. And then once that was finished, we dove back headfirst into those like heavier songs that eventually became Cascades. Excited to see what happens next.
Hailing from the cascadian gloom of British Columbia, Canada, ULVIK was formed in 2011 by you, George Allen, and you, Jade Fadel. Tell us more about this, your decision in creating this band, and besides the ULVIK municipality in Vestland, Norway, where this name is coming from.
Yeah, I mean, ULVIK translates to mean wolf's den, which is pretty cool in our opinion. And, you know, another part of it is my family, they originate from Norway, and where my family came from is not too far away from where ULVIK is now. And, you know, I think a lot of the natural inspirations and the flora and fauna of that area, Norway is very similar to where we live here in British Columbia, Canada. If you were along the coast of British Columbia, you might think you are in Norway. We liked the meaning of Wolf's Den, and personally there's a bit of a nod to the fact that it's not too far away from where my family came from before they moved to Canada.
I mean, in other words, what I believe, it's right.
I think it's pretty close, definitely. And like the music part of ULVIK being, especially now, like going more and more, like touching a lot of like instruments that are, more like the Middle Eastern side of things, and the bouzoukis. Like there's a lot of like that side of things that are a little bit more related to like my background as well from the Middle East. And there's a lot of folks also come to British Columbia and feel like it's like from like Lebanon, and it's very like similar tradescapes and landscapes. So yeah, I mean, ULVIK definitely is more of a name that we found that fit well for the project, and that's kind of where that came from. And the years of us working in this project has been like honestly more of an experimental space for us to like learn how to write music. For myself, especially when it came to like drumming, because it wasn't necessarily live recorded drums, so I'd have to like learn how to write drums that sounded relatively okay to the ears. So a lot of it was experimental, and now we're kind of getting into a phase where we feel way more comfortable like with the songs, and we're really happy with like showcasing them and maybe making them as a life project. So that's kind of like how the whole project evolved throughout the years.
Okay, but talking about this, I mean, 10 years of activities, fourth work for the Canadian duo, which arrived under the aegis of Avantgarde after 2 EPs Shelter in 2011 and Baltic Sea that you guys have released in 2012, followed by twin albums simply titled Volume 1, 2018 and Volume 2 in 2019, and right after spending the opening months of the 2020 pandemic creating Isolation Motifs, a short concept instrumental album. Tell us more about these albums and your involvement in this type of sound you have been creating throughout the years. And I know Jay just talked a little bit about it, especially these critics, always questioning about whether ULVIK is metal or not.
yeah, it's funny, we didn't even know that was a thing until like I guess even like this week Jordan and I started talking about it. Volume 1 and 2 was kind of me writing songs that were like I would probably consider them metal, because there's some like elements of that, I think, part of it, but it was kind of me learning how to get more like finding a sound that felt like made sense to my ears a little bit. So it was like there's elements of like black metal, and then a little bit elements of like funeral doom with like very low screams at the bottom, just like layered on top of it. And then it slowly transitions into more and more like heavier metal as ULVIK came to be with me and George. So I'm not sure like why that was really even a thing where people weren't sure if it was metal. I know that the past like music might have not necessarily been 100% what we would call like metal. I don't know, George, what are your thoughts about that?
I don't know. I think it's really funny. Like Jade said, we didn't even know that was a thing until like we had several people asking, why aren't you on Metal Archives? And I was like, I don't know. It's not really something that we paid attention to. I guess now we're on there, so that's cool. I don't think it's something that we ever like really concerned ourselves with. We were just trying to write music that we liked and made us feel something and felt evocative, and that was a lot more worthwhile of a pursuit than being concerned if we're metal enough or not, if anything.
Also, like there's a big aspect of our music that is like visual arts, so that George brings a lot as well to the project. So I feel like we've been less concerned about that and more concerned about spending our time making it, which takes a lot of time and takes a lot of effort. So it's cool that now people think we're metal, I guess. I don't know. We just appreciate the process, I guess, of doing it all is what I'm trying to say. Like the whole creative process of like us sitting and figuring out what type of sound we want to make or visual arts we want to make. I think that whole process is just so enjoyable for us. Like it's really more of a.
That's why I hate to say when critics or people start complaining and start judging and even start labeling. That's something very touchy to label a band, first of all. Even, worse, if you start criticizing it, if the band is metal or not. Come on, before, 20, 30 years ago, you just say that's thrash metal, that's black metal, that's death metal, doom metal. But nowadays, the music scene, the evolution has been so tremendous, so big that there's a lot of experimental.
We're both really, really big metalheads and listen to a lot of different kinds of metal. But then at the same time, we both are really, really big fans of orchestral music and classical music and like film scores, like a lot of Nick Cave and Warren Ellis's stuff. and like Clint Mansell's stuff. We gravitate towards like cinematic music and stuff that really isn't necessarily like a verse, chorus, verse, hook. It really kind of is like an overarching story almost. We really kind of like quickly realized that that's what we both want to do. And so regardless of instrumentation or whether it's distorted guitars and blast beats, like we both wanted to write music that sounded like that. So I guess now it's metal.
Yeah, it's funny because like we don't know what our next album is going to be. It could be absolutely not metal. Like it could be a very, very quiet album as much as it could be just power metal. Like we really don't know what we're thinking. We talk about it sometimes. We're like, oh, should we just go for like, you know, what type of sound we want to go for? So I think this project honestly is more like of a space for us to, you know, express and kind of explore sounds. And also, honestly, it's like a learning space to learn how to write any type of music that we're like kind of interested in doing. And if people love it along the way and want to listen to it, that's awesome. But we usually do always kind of end up doing a bit of like landscapes and spaces within songs that are, you know, instrumental and kind of like provocative, I guess. So we kind of always lean towards that, but we might end up wanting to challenge each other and be like, let's just make the most power metal album ever in the future. I don't know what we're going to do.
I don't think we're ever going to end up with a ska album or whatever, but yeah.
Okay, tell me guys, but how do you feel, especially talking about different type of genre or ingredients that we add into the music, to this music sound? How about this post-metal?
For the post-metal sounds of it, like George said, we listen to a lot of different genres. We do, you know, also love a lot of like Godspeed You Black Emperor and a lot of music that's like very post-metal as well. And like post-rock, sorry. But for like post-metal, it's a genre that I guess we gravitated towards a lot, especially within Lucia. I guess Lucia was a little bit like that as well. I'm not sure if that's like exactly what we are aiming to do with ULVIK per se.
Yeah.
George, I don't know, George, how you feel about like the label of post-metal?
I mean, whichever way the song takes us, whatever should happen next, whichever way it should go. And if a song needs to go towards something that sounds post-metal, then we'll probably write a post-metal part.
That's a good way to put it, because definitely it is like very directed by the song, right? Oftentimes, like we start something and then after like, yeah, you might start with us writing something, but after a little bit, I think we've talked about this, George and I often, but like it often turns out that you're kind of working for the song and you don't even know where it's going to go, but the song is kind of guiding you to.
Nothing to do with Alsace or Agalok or Harakiri for the Sky, Ghost Bat to mention some.
I mean, I love the bands.
We love all these bands.
Yeah,
huge fans.
Definitely big fans and big inspirations to us, without a doubt.
Yeah, we're huge fans of them. I don't think we've ever like sat down and thought to write a song like in that genre, I think, George. But yeah, I think besides like loving them, I don't know. I'm not against it. I guess we just never ended up writing a song like that, I think.
I think I end up like honestly just naturally falling into writing down-tuned, slower, heavier riffs. I write a lot of my stuff on bass in like B tuning, so it ends up sounding like post-metal. That could be why you hear a lot of post-metal.
Yeah. to continue with this interview, there's so much to talk about. Yes, the band completed the first works on the new album, Cascade, which is a hypnotic, atmospheric black metal album incorporating the old organic texture of plucked and both bouzoukis and the violins to create ethereal interludes in contrast to this visceral aggressive tone of each track, and was released last July 13, 2021 on CD, LPs, and digital via Avantgarde Music. Talking about LPs, in how many colors are they available and how are the sales going just less than 2 months that the album has been released, guys?
There's 2 limited edition colors. One is like a smoky gray or a smoky, I don't remember. Do you remember, Jade?
I think it was like a smoky black, and then the other one was a little bit like more of a clear vinyl, like transparent, smoky something.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been going. Honestly, Avantgarde has been so awesome, even at supporting our music and bringing us into their groups. And yeah, we're super stoked. For sales wise, like the sales happen through Avantgarde. Like we don't sell them through our own Bandcamp, but 50% of the profits that we get by the end of September will be donating to the Indian residential school. So
that's very great. That's very great to hear, man.
Yeah, so I think it's been going pretty good. Like we've been really surprised by how many folks have ordered the album through Avantgarde. Like we've been.
But are we talking about limited quantities or what?
I think there was 150 of each of the limited editions, and then there's like straight black LPs after that. And then I'm not sure if Avantgarde has any plans on doing another reprint of some of those limited editions. We know that they're currently like in process of moving their warehouse in Italy, so they've been really busy.
Or pressed in another color.
Or pressed in another color, yeah. I mean, what's interesting is like we're not a super well-known band at this point, and this album has really been spreading through word of mouth. I think it's great to see on social media it getting shared around and some of the reviews that are coming. That's been really, really exciting. And, we've been seeing sales of the album kind of steadily increase as weeks go by. I think just as kind of people are sharing it. So it's been really fun for us to witness.
Well, believe me, after this interview and after the 2 weeks that we have been promoting the band and this interview all over our pages from this Man of Messiah Radio, you guys are now known everywhere in the world.
Well, thank you. That's very exciting.
Thank you for having us. We were just getting these invites. It's so humbling, and we're so grateful to be able to have like these conversations, talk about our music. We do the music because we love it, and we're like, yeah, if we can do concerts, that'd be also awesome. But it's not necessarily like we're not necessarily looking to make it, especially when you're writing like that type of black metal music. Like there's no we know we're writing for a niche type of music, so we're not necessarily looking for success. But it's so nice to even get some support, be invited to have conversations about it. Like we're so humbled, so thank you.
Yeah, we didn't know what the reaction was going to be. We didn't know if people were going to like it or not. So now that it seems like it's had a bit of a positive reception, I think we'll continue pushing it for sure.
But talking about the Italian label Avantgarde Music supporting the band and promotion the album Cascade, how are things going?
Avantgarde has been, again, like they've been so awesome with us. They promoted the volume 1 and 2. That was kind of the first time they reached out to us to see if we could work with them. Because the albums had been kind of already released, they were like, let's just do a bundle, let's release it. But it wasn't like an official like whole like release with an LP. So we talked to them and we're like, okay, we're going to be working on a full album. So if you guys would be interested, release with you. So since volume 1 and 2, we've been working on Cascades. And then in the middle of Cascades, we decided to work on Isolation Motifs, which was a little bit different, so not very metal in its way. But yeah, overall, Avantgarde have been just so supportive. I have nothing but great things to say.
They worked with us really closely on designing the artwork for the album, and we're very happy with how it looks. They were really supportive of us, getting it out to a lot of different blogs. They got us on Black Metal Promotion as far as, the release of the video for Baaltis, and then also we premiered the full album on Black Metal Promotion as well, which is a huge, wide audience. So we have Avantgarde to thank for that.
Okay, again, guys, excuse me, please. To go back to our friends critics. I mean, even after critics are questioning whether you previous releases are metal or not, how are the reaction toward this new release? I'm talking about these guys.
Most enjoyable for me is that we really try to imbue a certain amount of our home and our surrounding into this album, coming from the Pacific Northwest of Canada. We tried to capture that in the sound, and we tried to capture that in the artwork and the video. And what I've noticed with a lot of the reviews that we've been getting is that people really tapped into that and picked up on it and realized it. And a few reviewers members have actually used a lot of like cascadian metaphors and described our music in natural ways, and that was really unexpected and awesome to see that, you know, we were able to like successfully get that into the album. And I think a few people don't like it, and that's fine, that's great, but overall people have been really enjoying it. And we honestly did not know how it was going to go. We kind of figured like there was going to be a lot of true cult warriors that thought we were not black metal enough. But for the most part, everyone seems really to dig it.
Yeah, definitely. And then definitely I can see how even when we were releasing it, we weren't sure. We're like, yeah, probably a lot of folks are not going to dig this, and it's fine. But I think overall, we do touch a lot of different aspects. There's extremely hardcore black metal songs. There are songs that are a bit more exploratory with different instruments and layers. So I think we weren't limiting ourselves to really anything in this album. We're gonna do whatever, but we're gonna try to make it as heavy kind of as possible for that, so that we would enjoy it and we would kind of imagine ourselves being able to play this live and have fun while playing them.
Okay, guys, if I'm not wrong, the first taste of this album was the video you guys premiered. That was last June 18, if I'm not wrong. Tell us about this video and who directed it. I'm talking about for the single Baltic.
It was just the four of us. It was Jade and I there's five of us. It was Jade and I and my fiance Alexis. She shot it. And one of my best friends, Eric Tremblay, he was also on camera. So we found old abandoned women's correctional facility in the wilderness in Canada here. And we snuck into it in the early morning. And I had these images and this idea in my head for probably 2 years of the storyline and these kind of visuals that I wanted to capture. So I kind of created the storyline for it and created all the costuming and all of that. I'm actually the guy in the moose costume, and the woman who plays in it is my sister. And then, my fiance and best friend, they shot it and did a fantastic job. Yeah, so it was shot in one day, and then we got out of there before anyone caught us. And then I edited and color corrected it. So it was a really, really small team that did it. We just lucked out. It was a really great day to shoot. So we're really proud of how it turned out. And it's nice that I was able to get those weird visuals onto the screen,
It's a very great job done, guys. Your sister and your girlfriend has a lot of
talent.
Experience, a lot of talent, yes.
Yeah, we're lucky to be surrounded with talented people who support us in this.
Okay, Cascade contains 32 minutes of hypnotic atmospheric black metal with elements from outfits like Wolfen Throne Room and the Seor, that's the band from Scotland, and similar bands. This release unleashed over 30 minutes of punishing black metal filled with lush atmospheric element and an eerie vibe. ULVIK will haunt you through northwestern forest. Okay, guys, I think to go to the last part of this interview, please share to the audience how long was the writing process been?
Oh, wow. Yeah, the writing process was very interesting. We started writing this, almost want to say, George, I'm not sure, 2-3 years ago at this point, I think. It took a while. We were writing stuff, and then we were kind of still a little bit in Lucia at that point, unclear kind of where that direction was going. So a lot of it was kind of being written and then was kind of put aside as we decided to take a break and write Isolation Motifs, and then picked up again. So the whole process of writing, I would almost
2018?
Yeah, 2018, I think. So 2-3 years of on and off work. Yeah, I mean, we were kind of learning. George and I were learning a lot about software sharing as well. So we were recording, at my place, and then we have a setup at his place as well, so we can share the programs, and he can work from his place and record instruments as well. So process of learning.
Yeah, we were getting together on Sundays and calling it Black Metal Sundays. Our rehearsal studio for Lucia, we'd go in on Sundays and just try to bang out songs that were in the vein of black metal, and that was kind of how a lot of these songs first started. I think that's actually how the second track, Nokhur, I think most of it was written in a day. You came up with that riff. I think I recorded the vocals for it the first day that we even tried, and those are the vocals that are on the album. So,
yeah, that's true. Some stuff happened really quickly, and then some stuff, especially when it comes to we'd write a piece and then we'd go into an atmospheric piece, which sometimes could take a while, and then sometimes you'd almost go depressed and you'd hate yourself, so you'd drop it and then pick it up a weeks later. So these long atmospheric pieces often take time to simmer and then figure out how they're gonna connect with each other. It was a pretty long process, but it was really enjoyable. It was a pretty challenging process to get to the end. We do everything ourselves, right? So.
on and off again 3 years.
Yeah.
Okay, but
Yeah.
you're talking about composition, but how about the lyrics?
That was kind of just like almost a weird guttural cathartic thing that came out as it wasn't really like a thing that we like went away and sat down and really thought it. It was almost like we belted the lyrics out phonetically and then honed them into words that made sense, and in a way that kind of like, it was almost like a Rorschach test. It was like we didn't even know what these songs were going to be about until we ended up forming actual words to them. And we haven't printed lyrics for the songs, and we don't plan to.
It was interesting. The lyrical process was, since we were mixing everything at home, it was kind of like we record vocals and then start layering them together. Then we listen back to them and be like, okay, this isn't like correct where it should go. And then we kind of like find the placement and then find the right tonality, especially that we were both doing vocals. So it was kind of like finding the right type of layer and the right where they would kind of sit in the mix was most of the work, I think, around it. I think the screams were just hilarious to listen to once we would just like solo them. So that's what's funny about metal music, I find, for us at least. Like it sounds like really scary and everything, but in the process, it's mostly just us having such a fun time and laughing. So it doesn't, it's a funny process.
Okay, it taken almost 3 years to finish this 5 songs album. You guys was always, when you had time, correct, and you always start working on it again and again and again. But the time that you have taken to complete the album, I mean, was it because you need to be in some kind of inspiration, or and when you're not in that mood, you cannot work on? How you get inspired to create your music?
I think, like the meat of it is done pretty quickly. George and I work really, really fast at writing parts. It's really, I think, the connecting parts together and then mixing it and then finding the right tone. That one took us longer than it, maybe it should have. I don't know. We were just still having fun with it. But I don't know, George, your thoughts on that? I don't know.
I mean, for me, it's like, it is a slow process. It might not be the most productive, but I mean, we would have an iteration of a song and I would just put it on my phone, put it on headphones, and go for a really, really long walk in the rain and chain smoke and listen to it over and over again. And you kind of start to develop melodies in the back of your throat, and you just kind of sing along in your head to it and start to figure out like, this needs this, or we need to chop off the 4 bars of this, or this should be extended, and like you just listen to it over and over and over again, and then you kind of come back and sit down at your computer and try to capture what was in your head when you went for a walk, and then you do that 180 times per song.
Yeah, especially when you start adding like all these other instruments like the bouzoukis and the violins, and it was like how long each part wants to go for. Like there was a lot of listening back and a lot of trying recording instruments and seeing how they would sit in the mix, and lots of steps there.
Lots of trial and error.
Okay, guys, talking about this album too, I mean, one thing that we cannot forget is the recording. Where was this taken place, and who was responsible for doing the mixing and the mastering?
It was all recorded here in my space, most of it. George recorded a lot of like pretty much all the crazy instruments that you can hear on this album. It's like George's creation. So those are all usually done at George's place or here as well, and then mix it all here in my space. The mastering, Avantgarde connected us with somebody to be able to master it for vinyl and all the other things, but the mixing was done by us.
Ancient Owl mastered it.
Ancient Owl, that's it, yes. So mixing is done here, and we've learned so much through like mixing these albums and the albums before that I think we're kind of like finding a tone that we are happy with at this point. We're getting a better idea on how to do it more quickly. But it is a learning process. Like, we're not trained into this stuff, so for us it's kind of
I mean, we wrote the songs like through digital plugins mostly, and then when it came time to get guitar tones, we did have a space, like an actual rehearsal studio that we had, so we'd go in and reamp some guitars. We did a lot of the vocals in our studio because you can't really do that at home so much. But like Jade said, I mean, the majority was done at his place, and then I recorded all of the acoustic instruments in my own space. So it was really kind of all over.
That's a lot of work, I mean.
Yeah, but it's really a testament to just how much you can really kind of achieve on your own if you've got the tenacity to do it. I think the days of having to go into a studio and pay an hourly rate for a producer, I mean, not to knock producers, I think that's still very much a viable and important thing, and they certainly have their place, but it is possible to create work in your own space if you're willing to just fail over and over again until it sounds right.
I mean, I'm amazed. Between the two of you, you handle all the instruments, and that's including bouzoukis and violins as well, right?
Yeah.
Wow, you guys are very talented. Let me tell you one thing. Doing recording now too, and the mixing. Wow.
Yeah, like I said, that's all Jade. I had really no point or no part in.
It's a lot that you guys accomplish just by the two of you.
No, thank you. But yeah, I think a lot of folks in this genre of music, like the black metal scene, a lot of us end up doing a lot of stuff on our own, I think. And we do have the local bands here as well that are, they work on their own. We can help each other as well. There's a lot of like that community that we're trying to, get together and build as well for support for that type of stuff. So yeah, it's fun.
Okay, guys, looking out, bands are starting to tour again. And yeah, what will you guys be doing in support of this great new album, Cascade? I mean, besides that, right now at this very moment, as you just said, that you're not concentrating to go on the road or you don't have a complete full live lineup as yet, but what else will you do in order to support this great new album?
Yeah, well, I think you guys should expect for sure a live ULVIK. I think that's going to happen. And we're, pretty confident that we're going to go forward with that. We're still like hashing out the details, but that is part of our roadmap. Writing is a big part of our life. So it's hard for us to like not do that. So we're going to for sure be writing more music.
Yeah, I think, this album is now complete. And so we're almost going to be approaching it from the other side where we take these songs and analyze them and figure out how best we play them live and what kind of people we need to add to the lineup to be able to do that properly. And that'll be an interesting exercise for us.
Anybody in mind, friends that you have worked with before that might jump in as session members?
Oh, we've talked about people, but I don't know if we're quite ready to share those just yet.
We've had a few people reach out as well for interest in joining from the local scene here in Vancouver. There's so many amazing musicians, and we're lucky to be around a good group of, black metal folks here in Vancouver. So just sharing the space with them here and like being in Vancouver, like I think we do have the chance to reach out to some folks to make that happen, I think.
Yeah, so it'll come together. We've got some people in mind. I think we're going to start to tackle that as our next big project in the coming months and try to get in shape for being able to pull this off live.
Yeah. Talking about Vancouver, I mean, I believe that Quebec is like the well-known city of Canada that's, is very well-known for black metal, but you guys are doing good in Vancouver as well, right?
Yeah, I'm from Quebec. Like I was raised in Quebec. I was born in Saudi Arabia in the Middle East. My parents are from Lebanon. I've moved here like in the last 8 years. I guess everyone's experience, like I feel that the metal scene here in Vancouver is a little bit more strong than the metal scene in Montreal, where I was from. The folks here are pretty active at going to concerts. Like the bands are pretty supportive. People go to shows here, and I've been to many like metal shows in Montreal that were super empty. And I mean, it's such an awesome city. But I don't know, maybe things changed since I left. But from my past experience, I think Vancouver has a pretty solid metal scene. We're lucky. I guess we're pretty lucky to be here, to be close to the West Coast for that.
Yeah, it's a really, really tight-knit scene. There's a lot of support. I think the challenge that Vancouver has is honestly just like the venues. I mean, we've got a few really amazing venues, but this is an expensive city and it's hard for them to stay afloat. So I think that's the biggest challenge is, bands needing to afford ludicrously expensive rehearsal spaces and then venues getting shut down by the city who want to put up, more high rises. So I think if the city was a little more supportive of the arts, Vancouver certainly has a metal community and a music community that will definitely continue to support the artists that play here.
Yes, I know. I can't remember the names right now. To go back to Quebec, they have good and very well-known festivals there. Any great festivals that you have in Vancouver?
There's the Covenant Festival here in Vancouver that they're awesome. I saw Take headline that a few years ago. They showcase a lot of British Columbian black metal and so yeah, huge kudos to those guys. We'd love to play on that festival at some point. And then there's the Modified Ghost Festival. They brought in some huge names, and that's really kind of all over the spectrum of heavy music from punk to stoner rock and heavy metal. And so yeah, there's a few really, really good festivals and organizers here.
Okay, guys. Yeah, it was so great talking to you guys. Yes, I want to thank you very much. But before I leave, I'm going to hand you over the microphone of Metal Messiah Radio for you guys to thank whomever you want to thank.
Oh, wow, put on the spot. Thank you for having us on this show. It's been awesome to speak with you, and we really appreciate the invite. I don't know, Jade, who do you think?
Yeah, I mean, so many folks, right? Like the Avantgarde team, huge shout out to them. Huge shout out to the black metal scene here in Vancouver, all the other bands as well, for supporting us and making black metal a place here in Vancouver. And I don't know, our loved ones, like everyone that's been around us, listening to us scream and listening to our music over and over again.
Yeah, I feel like I've got to give a special shout out to Alexis, my fiance. Not only did she shoot the video, but she had to listen to me trying to learn to play a violin for this album in a one-bedroom apartment. So that takes the patience, I think. And, big shout out to Eric Tremblay and Rebecca Allen for helping us with that video shoot. Because, that was a lot of their hours too.
Yeah.
Thank you, Metal Messiah Radio.
Shout out to Metal Messiah Radio.
Okay, guys, but before I leave now, for those out there talking about the album cover, I love this album cover so much. And I'm sure there's a lot of folks out there that really want to have this cover artwork on a t-shirt or at least patches with the band logo or anything. What do you guys have available whatsoever? I'm talking about merchandises.
Yeah, we're actually funny. Before we jumped on with you, we were just finalizing some designs for a t-shirt. So if people follow us on Instagram, our handle is ULVIK Band. You'll see some designs on there. So we definitely want to have some patches soon. We'll have t-shirts. We had a custom design done by a very talented local illustrator and tattoo artist here in Vancouver. She did the design for us. It's based on the music video. Yeah, so stay tuned. We're working on it, and I think the best platform to look at that stuff would be to follow us on Instagram.
But again, the t-shirt will be with the album cover artwork on?
We haven't figured that one out yet. We got a custom design done from the video, but it's awesome to see how much people have reacted to the cover. So we've talked about that too. We'll try to make a design of that, the bench. Yeah.
So the people, they will be updated to your pages?
Yeah, I think, we'll share it on Facebook as well. We're more active on Instagram. We'll start to share some designs there and put some orders up, and they'll be on our Bandcamp eventually too.
Jade?
Yeah, we're basically at this moment talking about what designs, and we are going to share the designs for even people to give us their thoughts about how they like it and stuff. So that's coming up. Most of the stuff that we do, again, we do with local artists here or ourselves. So that's why it's been a little bit slower in the production side of things, but it's coming.
Okay, guys, once again, I want to thank you very much. I wish you all the best for this great new album.
Thank you. Very appreciated.
I wish you all the best for this great new album, Cascade. And yeah, normally we talk about the half hour, but this conversation was so interested. There was so much to talk to you about. And, you're doing your part, George, Jay doing his part, and we almost approached 1 hour talking. It was very great, this interview. Yes, guys, so I wish you all the best. I can't wait to hear from you guys again. So, for all the fans that you already have, shouting there, enjoying this great new album, are we going to hear from you again for another release in 2022?
2022 might be a little early, but we learned a lot on Cascades. And so I think the next one that we write is going to go a lot faster because we know what works and what doesn't. So we'll do our best and we'll try to release something pretty quick.
Yeah.
Okay, guys. So once again, I want to thank you very much for this great interview. It's been a very great pleasure talking to you, George, and to you, Jade. I wish you all the best, all the best. Take care of yourself, your loved ones.
Thank you.
Okay, guys. So like I always say, metal on. Bye-bye.
Metal on.
Metal on. Bye-bye.